The film begins in Hong Kong, specifically in a harsh and conflict-ridden prison. Amidst the chaos among the inmates is Chan Ho-ching, who strangely seems to enjoy his days behind bars, as if the prison is a form of entertainment for him. Chan is serving a 3-month sentence for theft. One day, his mother and his girlfriend, Sweet E, come to visit him, bringing wide smiles. His girlfriend is very loyal and eagerly awaits the day of his release. On the other hand, there's Mak Kin Tin, an architect who was recently imprisoned after being framed by his best friend in a major building fire case that claimed many lives. For Mak, this prison is hell on earth. As a new inmate, he immediately becomes the target of violence for veteran prisoners. Inside the cell, we also meet Lai Sek Shun, a feared gang leader serving a life sentence for murder. Tensions rise when the guards come to break up a fight and remind them not to cause trouble, as Warden Tom wants a promotion and does not want his reputation tarnished by the prisoner's actions.
聽講最近佢終於有機會升職走人。
我要呢度天下太平。
The next day, Mak sits alone, overwhelmed with despair and drifting into dark thoughts. However, Chan approaches him and begins to share his experience and advice on surviving in this harsh prison. He explains about the 2 major gangs that control the place. Lai's gang led by Lai Sek Shun, and another gang under the leadership of Lam Kwok Lung, known as Big Roller. Lam is an equally terrifying figure. That same day, Lam is released from solitary confinement and is greeted with respect by his men.
喂，大佬，
聽阿 Sir 話，
Lam faces a 20-year sentence for multiple murders. In the past, while returning from shopping with his wife, they were attacked by a group of people. Although Lam defeated the attackers alone, his child was injured, leading to Lam's imprisonment. Later, tragic news arrives when Lam's wife visits him and brings word that their daughter died in a fire at the building where Mak used to work. She believes the fire was an act of revenge by Lam's enemies. Since then, Lam lost his family and never saw his wife again. In prison, the head guard warns Lam not to cause trouble if he doesn't want to return to solitary confinement. Though silent, Lam's face reveals his feelings. The head guard seems to favor Lai as the prison's dominant figure. Meanwhile, Chan advises Mak to join Lam's gang to avoid continued intimidation by Lai's gang. Mak agrees, and Chan takes him to meet Lam in a room. There, Mak sees Lam praying for his deceased daughter. Shortly afterward, Chan announces to everyone that Mak wants to join their gang, but unexpectedly, Lam punches and injures Mak. This act confuses everyone, including Chan. Apparently, there's a dark history between them. Sometime later, Chan's girlfriend returns and tells him that his mother is seriously ill due to kidney failure and urgently needs a transplant. The only hope is if Chan donates his kidney.
前晚暈咗，
送入醫院，親屬換腎嘅存活率係最高。你問下自己有冇盡過做仔嘅責任？
Chan begs the head guard for temporary release, but is rejected due to the guard's promotion agenda. Despite the refusal, Chan insists and is punished by being made to run laps around the yard. While running, he thinks only of his mother and decides to escape from prison to save her. He even tries to climb barbed wire, but is stopped by the guards. Fortunately, they don't report him to the head guard. At that moment, Chan sees a guard cleaning a drain and gets the idea to escape through that hole. Meanwhile, Mak continues to be tortured by Lai's gang, even having his fingernails injured. In despair, Mak nearly takes a reckless action, but Chan arrives just in time to stop him. Chan then asks Mak to help design an escape plan. He believes the hole he saw could be the way out. Mak immediately agrees, as he wants to be free and take revenge on the one who framed him. As an architect, Mak begins to study the prison system, but the challenge is great because the prison is tightly guarded with 120 cameras. Nonetheless, Mak discovers an exit route through the water drainage system. He also plans to enter the woodworking workshop controlled by Lam. Unfortunately, without Lam's permission, they cannot access the area. Mok feels the escape plan is impossible. But for his mother's sake, Chan remains determined to get into that workshop. One day, Mok is visited by Wing, the person who framed him. Wing even threatens to sabotage Mok's appeal in court. It turns out Wing also hired Lai to torture Mok. This enrages Mok, and he vows to take revenge. Chan and Mok then create a new plan. At one point, Chan remembers a photo of Lam's daughter. He asks his girlfriend to investigate rumors that Lam's daughter is still alive. It turns out the child is indeed alive and about to get married. When Chan shows the photo to Lam, Lam is shocked. He learns that his wife lied about their daughter's death. This news makes Lam extremely emotional, and he decides to help Chan escape. They plan to escape through a ventilation duct to the electrical room to shut off the lights, then to the admin room, and finally out through the sewer.
世界全部鎖我都開到。
You will pick them up outside. The plan begins. Chan tries to unscrew the vent, but can only loosen one. Mok then makes a screwdriver from a melted plastic bottle cap and manages to remove all the screws. As they prepare to enter, they hear guards approaching, so they hurriedly reseal the vent. Afterward, they plan to steal the gate G key carried by a guard. Mok mixes glue and powder into slime to mold a duplicate key. However, on the first try, Chan presses the slime too hard and fails. They try again using another trick. Mok pretends to vomit on the guard's shirt, sending him to the toilet. That's when Chan successfully makes the duplicate key. They head to the vent, but the route is blocked. Suddenly, Lai's gang attacks, and a fight breaks out. Fortunately, the head guard arrives and sends Lai's gang to solitary. Both gang leaders are summoned to make peace, but they refuse. Mok reveals that Lai was hired by Wing to torture him into dropping his appeal. Lai denies it. The head guard decides they should resolve their issues in a duel. Since Mok is injured, Lam fights in his place. A brutal fight ensues, and Lam defeats Lai by breaking his arm. Lai is taken to the medical room. Meanwhile, Lam, Chan, and Mok are placed in solitary. There, they discuss the plan. Chan wants to donate his kidney, Lam wants to meet his daughter, and Mok wants revenge. They agree that Mok will remain in prison to reduce the risk of a group escape. In return, Lam will protect Mok from Lai's gang. They begin sawing the bars with a hacksaw hidden in a Bible. However, the head guard becomes suspicious and uses Lai as a spy in the workshop. Despite this, the plan continues. When the head guard arrives, Lam and Mok create a diversion. Lai then tells the head guard he knows Lam's plan and wants in. Initially rejected, Lai steals the duplicate key and threatens to flush it down the toilet. The festival night arrives. The head guard is busy entertaining important guests, and Yi is ready to pick them up. The trio begins their escape, while Mok keeps watch in the yard. Suddenly, the head guard sees Mok standing alone and grows suspicious. He orders his men to find Mok. Meanwhile, Lam, Chan, and Lai continue crawling through the vents and finally reach the electrical room. They successfully cut the power, plunging the prison into darkness. The inmates riot, and the guards panic as all surveillance systems go down. Amid the chaos, the head guard confronts Mok, accusing him of orchestrating the chaos. At the same time, the warden spots them on the CCTV and rushes to the scene. On the other side, Chan is trying to unlock the door to the admin room. LAI becomes impatient and orders Lam to stand guard, but Lam refuses to take orders from someone he already defeated. This sparks another conflict between them. Fortunately, Mach arrives in time and hits LAI from behind. They manage to enter the room and prepare to escape through the sewer. But the sewer cover is very hard to open. Tension rises as the guards approach. In that critical moment, Mach decides to sacrifice himself and distract the guards by pretending to faint. Chan tells Lam to go into the sewer while he stays behind to face the guards. In the end, only Lam successfully escapes from prison. Outside, he is approached by a prison officer, but within seconds, the officer is subdued after Yi arrives and whisks him away. Lam then heads straight to his daughter's wedding. Upon arrival, his wife is stunned to see him. He apologizes for her lie. Apparently, all these years, she had told their daughter that her father had died in prison. At that moment, Lam feels a mixture of disappointment and understanding toward his wife. He chooses to stay calm so as not to disrupt the ceremony and forgives her for the lie, knowing she only did it to ease their daughter's longing. He quietly witnesses a part of the ceremony. Lam feels immense joy seeing his daughter on stage. His daughter thanks her mother for raising her and also thanks her late father, whom she believes is no longer alive. Hearing this, Lam feels great sadness and quietly leaves the scene. But just as the daughter is about to sit down, she notices a smiley emoticon placed on a plate. Instantly, she realizes her father had attended the ceremony and is still alive. Meanwhile, Mach and Chan are taken to the hospital for treatment. Chan is deeply grateful that he can now donate his kidney to his mother thanks to the chaos in prison. Lam later returns to prison to surrender himself.
咩都冇晒，包括你嘅自由。
A few days later, Chan is filled with joy seeing his mother recovering. At the same time, Lam feels content as his wife and daughter come to visit him in prison. Meanwhile, Mach finally takes revenge on Wing by getting him imprisoned. He doesn't hold back and makes Wing feel the same suffering he once endured. Now, Mach has also become one of the most feared inmates in the prison for his bravery. However, this story isn't truly over, as Lai's gang begins to make life difficult for Wing.